What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Say with a Twist podcast. I am your host, Darissa, but you can call me D. Now, of course, we know Valentine's Day is this weekend, so I could not let this go by without talking about dating, especially dating with a little bit of standards, a little bit of faith, and maybe just a little bit of delusion. Now, I will say this episode is about dating as a Black woman, especially those like me who have faith involved in it. You know, dating requires some standards, a little bit of discernment, a little hope, and sometimes a tiny bit of delusion just to stay optimistic. Now, I will say this. I am going to be honest about this. So buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be interesting. Now, we're going to be honest about this dating scene, okay? So I will say this. If you are dating with standards, faith, and you don't have any delusions, you've probably already deleted any apps that are out there for dating. I will first preface this by saying trying to date is exhausting. It takes a lot. That's all I'm going to say. It takes a lot. Dating with standards, even harder. And then you have dating with faith, which adds another level of expectation, especially for women, especially Black women who are in, their faith journey, faith walk, wherever you may be. But I'm going to say this, and I mean this with all love. It is okay to want love. It's okay to want peace. It's okay not to want to lower your standards. And it's okay to believe that love is still possible, because guess what? It is. Truthfully, like I said, dating is exhausting. I myself am on just one dating app. And when I first joined this app, I was like, this is so much. One, I have not been on a dating app since the year of our Lord 2020, when the world shut down, because what else was there to do? We had nothing to do. I was bored. This is when Facebook dating was a thing. This is before it went to hell in a handbasket. But I will say this. It was exhausting because everybody was, liking my profile. And I was trying to make sure that I was responding back to people or, telling them no thank you, if I actually accepted, them for us actually to match on the app. It was a lot. And because I've taken myself out of the dating pool for quite some time now, I had to look at what I wanted my standards to be, because sometimes we have some delusional, unrealistic standards. We'll talk about that later. But I had to just look at what I wanted my basic standards to be. Did they have to be Black? I had some white guys shoot their shot, and that's okay. I had some Hispanic guys. I saw one Asian on there, but I couldn't get with him. And then I had one guy from Germany that was on there, and I was like, that's not going to be a barrier, because he does not speak English, and the app was not translating what he was sending me in German. And I was like, we're done. Okay, we're done with that one. So there was that, and then I had to ask myself, okay, am I dating according to what the I guess I would say generations previous have instilled in us about, not being unequally yoked, or this is that and the third. That one is going to be a very interesting story that I will definitely tell you about later, because that caused a little bit of drama. But I mean, it was just, truthfully, dating, it was a lot. And some people were nice, some were very demanding. I saw one guy's profile, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, he seems handsome just based off of his pictures. And side note, caveat, for those of you who are either thinking about doing dating apps or are on dating apps, please look at your pictures. No one wants to see the bottom of your face, your neck, your chin. I don't want to see up your nose. Like, stop taking pictures like that. That is, ugh. Yep. That's what that is. But, it was something. So I was scrolling through his pictures, and I was reading what he put on his profile. And then also some of them put nothing on their profile. They answered none of the questions or prompts or anything. And if you want to know, I am on the Hinge app, but don't, whatever. I had one, it was like, what we're not going to do is talk on this app. We're going to talk face to face. sir, I don't know if you're a serial killer or not, because yes, I am a criminal mind girly, all of that. And I was like, serial killer? Hello. But he may not necessarily be a serial killer, but it was just I read his profile stuff with like aggression that he had. He was like, we're not going to talk on this app. We're going to go out on dates and we're going to do that. I'm like, immediately, sir, I don't know if I would like you. And then, of course, as I was reading further, and this is no disrespect to anyone that is of the Muslim community, I'm pretty sure you may date like that. But I was like, sir, no, because you just seem rude, because he did put his face was Muslim. But it was just like everything that he put in his profile just seemed extremely rude. He did not seem friendly or anything like that. He seemed like he was saying that what you weren't going to do if you were going to talk to him. And I'm like, okay, that's his standards. But I mean, I would probably say that to a person versus writing it, because maybe, like me, somebody else took it as extremely aggressive. And I'm like, if you're going to be that aggressive, babe, I don't need you in my life. I want that peace, okay? Because dating is not going to stress me out. I decided at the beginning of the year I was going to put myself out there. I was going to get out of the house. I was going to go date, go do whatever, go do all the things that I would like to do. Now, I will say this, because like I said, I want love, I want the relationship, I want all the things. But what I'm not willing to do is I'm not going to lower my standards. Now, some standards may be unrealistic, and that's fine. Like I said, we'll talk about that later. But there are some that are non-negotiable with me. And mainly is, can you be a gentleman? An actual gentleman? Can you hold a conversation with me? And can you not demand something of me that you're not even demanding of yourself? Because I know what we all want to say, those who are in their faith walk, don't be unequally yoked. But even just if you're not a believer in Christ, don't ask something of me that you yourself would absolutely not do, because who's supposed to do that? Not I said the duck, okay? Now, do me a favor. Put, a little hand or something in the comments and tell me if dating has ever made you question your standards, your patience, and even sometimes yourself, because I know I am not alone in this. Now, let's get into something that I feel like is not talked about enough, but today we're going to talk about it, which is the standards versus the checklist. And what is it that you mean when you say standards? Okay? Now, mind you, this is not an exhaustive list of things, but what we are going to talk about is the difference between standards and then that fantasy checklist that you got, okay? So for me, standards, meaning that this man has something about him that regardless of what's happening, what's going on in the world, situation, is going to remain the same for him. That's the same thing for me. Standards means your value, your character. Are you consistent? Because, baby, let me tell you, sometimes you can be consistent and it comes off as desperate. Or that fantasy checklist. And I call this a fantasy checklist because it's not necessarily required for you unless you may be a shallow person. And hey, if you are, that's you. But when we say fantasy checklist, because I always I want my man 6 foot and taller. I'm 5 foot even. I am. I want to climb him like a tree. Don't mean sexually. Sometimes I just may want to climb you. I'm weird like that. We want him to basically be a billionaire by age 25, which means he would have to do something. Or you want him to have the perfect theology. And if you don't know what I mean by theology, he believes the same way you believe. It's the rabbit hole that you can go down. For those of you who have that thought process, you may not believe in God or anything like that, or he has to believe the same thing you believe. You believe in the universe, spiritual, whatever. Now, I will say this, okay? For me, standards at those, your character, your moral values, I definitely want my person to be unchanging. But I had to think about what I wanted my standards to be, because like I said, I pulled myself out of the dating game for a long time. And now I'm back. So I was like, what has it changed? And truthfully, my standards have evolved with age, with healing, And I am very proud of that because back in the day, I had some very, very unrealistic things on my checklist. And it takes age, honestly, to come up with that. And I've even talked to some young ladies I've mentored, and sadly, they don't have any standards at all for when it comes to dating. Now, my mother will tell you any day I have zero standards when it comes to looks. But it's just basically, do you appeal to me in that moment? Sometimes you appeal to me forever. Other times it has nothing to do with your looks. It could just simply be your personality. Now, like I said, my stuff has evolved with, I will say with my maturity, emotional maturity, I have evolved there. And also from healing and some traumas, because now I'm not the type of person that as soon as you irritate me, I'm done talking to you. Because back in the day, yeah, that's who I was. I am no longer that person, and I'm grateful for it. But I will say this, and I need to segue a little bit because as a Black woman, a lot of times people, and this could be our own family, your friends, or whoever, they tell us that our standards are too much, like that we're asking for too much. I'm going to say this right now. You're not asking for too much unless you're asking for him to be a well-hung billionaire. Hello, come on, let's say with a twist. We keep it real over here. If that may be unrealistic. If you want to go for that, you're going to have to move from where you are to go where you may think you're going to find that, but that doesn't mean you're going to be happy. Now, if you're just here to get your bag and get your money or whatever, then hey sis, do you, because I can't speak from that. Or, as Black women, we're told to be more flexible. We're told to, give Johnny come lately a chance, and Johnny come lately ain't coming with nothing. Like, be flexible, because that might be the best you can do. You don't know what it is the best that I can do. I could probably pull me a millionaire that's, out here doing stuff, and he's just got, money sitting in the bank. And because I was not flexible per se, because I didn't, I wasn't changing what I am asking for, I get exactly what I want. Because who are you to tell me that I need to be more flexible with my standards when it comes to dating? Because guess what? That is my life. That's my mental health, emotional health, and even sometimes physical health. And then we have that classic line that I have heard throughout my life as a Black woman: just give him a chance. A chance to do what? I will say this. I do give people a chance. I give you a chance to mess up. But first and foremost, before I give you a chance, a conversation has been had between you and me. Let me tell you something. After that conversation determines if I'm going to give you a chance, because sometimes I can give you a chance to ruin my life, and that's not going to happen. Now, I do have to stop, pause for everybody, okay? What is one standard that you yourself refuse to lower no matter what? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear it. And, when we have these standards and things like that, people like to say that, oh, you're just trying to control the situation. I'm going to call that a BS line. What I'm doing by setting standards is telling you how much I have respect for myself, because self-respect should be one of the basic standards that you have, not even just for dating, but just for yourself. Okay. Now, I will say this. Whether you are a believer in Christ, whether you are, atheist, agnostic, I don't know what you could be if you're listening to this podcast. But what I do know is that have some standards. If you've ever seen Steve Harvey's movie, Think Like a Man, there's a clip in there where Steve is talking to whomever he's talking to, and Megan Good's character was like, have some standards. Or somebody said something, and she was like, yeah, get some. If you don't have standards of what you're requiring, I mean the bare minimum of what you require in your future partner, please take a moment, sit down, write them. For me, bare minimum. It's all automatic off top with me that, one, depending on what your age is, please have a job. Please, because if I'm working I don't have time to be dealing with your tomfoolery. So have a job. If you live in a city where it is required, please have some transportation, because I am not your personal taxi service. I was in a relationship with someone in the past where I was their personal taxi. It gets exhausting. I will say this. I have one, have some morals and some values. You know what you will and will not do. Now, because I don't need the person I'm trying to talk to be a PDF file. If you are into children or something like that, me and you we can't work. Because first off, I'm reporting you to the police because you're nasty. But I mean, have some type of character. Have something about yourself that I can say without a shadow of a doubt that is, I can recognize you by your character. Be a person of good morals and good values. That's just my standard. Of course, my checklist would be, I do, like I said, I want somebody taller than me. But I don't necessarily have to have them 6 feet. Maybe, I'm going to say this, like at minimum 5'8". There is someone I'm talking to on this app that is 5'6". Not the specific height that I like, but what's the girl gonna do? I don't know about income. Sometimes people are changing jobs. They want to do something else because they finally found their passion in life. As long as you got some income coming in, I'm cool with that. I mean, I don't want you to be a stripper because that's just not what I would like. Because if we're going to eventually be together and it may lead to marriage, my husband is not taking his clothes off for anybody but me. But hey, just saying, because everybody has different walks of life. I'm not ignorant to this. I get it. But, as you're writing down your standards and even, your checklist, call it a checklist instead of calling it a fantasy checklist. It's a bonus if he ticks this off. Okay, it's your bonus list. Have some wisdom about yourself. Know what you will and will not accept. Know your do's and will not do. I will not do sharing my man with anybody else. So I do not want an open relationship. Monogamy me, please. And I mean, make sure that this person is aligned with you, where you're trying to go in life. All of that. Make sure that's where they are. Make sure that you can be safe with this person. Because like I went on a date today, girls. And yes, I'll tell you about it later in this podcast. But I went on a date. I felt pretty much safe. I did do the standard, text them name, photo, all of these things, where I'm going to lunch. And then, hey, in 2 hours, if you've not heard from me, text me. And then a phone call once you leave said date. Hey, safety, people, because you don't know who's out there in this world. And also, when you are thinking of these standards, if you are not emotionally mature, you don't need to be dated. But that's neither here nor there. But that's just my opinion. That's the twist of the whole matter. Now, I've told y'all on many occasions that I am a woman of faith. So we got to talk about the best things, the double standards of dating in church. Now, I will say this. If you are not a church goer or, anything like that, I would say skip forward, but you may want to hear this too. Now, there is a double standard in the church, especially the Black church. And that is that women are supposed to be these pure things, and men, for lack of a better phrase, can go out there and be happy hookers, and it's okay. Because we do not preach the same thing to men that we preach to women. Some are starting to now, but back when I was younger, that wasn't the case. So let's talk about this, okay? Now, I'm not bashing the church. I just want you to know that now. Not bashing. This is just the reality. And women in church are, we're expected to wait longer. We're supposed to pray hard. We're supposed to submit and, quietly lower our expectations until we're just settled for any Tom, Dick, or Harry that shows up. Now, men, they're still growing. They're not there yet. They're still a work in progress. And the good old phrase, boys will be boys. Now, why are women told to basically be ready And men are allowed to grow into who they're supposed to be. I would like to reframe this. Both of us should be growing into who we're supposed to be, but we should be teaching the boys. And I don't say men, I mean the boys, because they're young. We should be teaching them to be just as chaste as you tell girls. Okay? Because it takes two to tango. And it also takes that little boy and his little stuff to knock a young lady up. But that's neither here nor there. Now, I will say this, because as a black woman in church, we're always told to be strong, patient, and be very understanding. I am tired of being understanding. I can give you grace when you are actively seeking grace, but I cannot give you grace when you are out here acting like a plum fool. I cannot. And I feel like this sets up pressure for women, because I'm not going to lie to you, they are always so, oh, honey, you need to get married, you need to get married, you need to get married. But y'all also told me don't go out here and chase no man, and the man that findeth a wife finds a good thing. Okay, and we want to finish it. He obtains favor with the Lord. But these men ain't trying to find nobody, okay? They not. They out here acting a plum donkey. And they want to play with their best friends and boys, and they ain't trying to look for nobody, or they just, want to sleep with you and go on about your day. Because yes, I had someone ask me last Sunday, oh, how is it dating? And I was like, there is pee and poop in the dating pool. It's trash. Now, there are some out there who are, some genuine gems, but we just can't find them because them, like us, are just sitting in the house not talking to nobody. But she was like, so what is it like dating church guys? And years ago, I had this guy, met him at a church function. He seemed nice. The first, I'm going to say probably the second conversation we had, he was like, oh, do you live alone? I was like, no, I still live at home because I'm old school. I'm not leaving my mama's house till I go to my husband's house. Or if not, me and my mama are going to be roommates for forever, okay? Because eventually I may leave, but hey, in this economy, everybody got a roommate. And he was like, oh, I can't come to your house because you live at home with your mama. And I said, do you have a house? He's like, yeah, but you can't come to my house. I said, why would you be coming to my house? So we can sleep together. Now, mind you, this is a man of the cloth. Hello, he's a full-blown elder. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. I was like, oh, baby. He opened my eyes because I said, oh, I thought men that go to church were different. But I said, y'all are all the same, no matter if you wear a collar or not. But that was a lesson that I learned. And I'm like, he's a fully grown adult. Like, who taught him his standards? Why you got to come to me? No, that's not how it works. But like I said, it's a double standard when it comes to dating in church, because women are not supposed to date. You're supposed to work in church and continue serving until your husband finds you, but he can't find you if he don't go to the same church as you, if you only working in that church. Yeah, I said what I said. So that means you got to go out. You got to live life. But then they tell us don't go out and live life. Don't do any of that because you're supposed to be separate from this world. You can't be out here gallivanting with everybody. Yeah, what they're basically telling girls to do is what we need is free slave labor from you. Don't go out here and do nothing. This man can go out here and have 17 different baby mamas, and we'll allow him to elevate himself in church eventually. We just got to, sit him down because he got to have his little slap on the wrist. But y'all ain't telling him, serve in church until, you meet a woman with some standards and some class. But I'm going to get off my soapbox for that one. And honestly, because like I said, it's always that pressure, especially in the black church. Oh, baby, you need to be married. How about you hush? Mind your business. The Lord will send me somebody. And what if I don't want to be married? What if I want to be big, rich auntie vibes for the rest of my life? People don't ever think about that. They never do. So I'll just be like, hey, you do whatever it is you're going to do. And I will say, at this point, I will guarantee that without saying it, some people in the church, some mothers, some elders in the church are basically saying that you have to, wait in faith. But what they don't really get is that when you keep telling us that, it starts to mean, that we just gonna wait endlessly. But use some wisdom when you talk to somebody. But as soon as I meet somebody, and not that they're taking me away from the church, but they're actually allowing me to experience life and live it, then you be like, oh, he's a heathen sent straight from the devil and you need to rebuke that demon. That man is probably not a demon. What he is taking the accessibility that you once had to me away, and now you're mad at it. But And I'm pretty sure there are other cultures who are just like this, but again, that double standard is always there for women and it's not there for men. So I'm just saying, if we want to be equal and have some equality, start telling them boys to hold yourself tight, okay? You need to be chaste. But y'all, what do y'all think? Do y'all think it's the double standard, or is there no double standard and you don't believe there's anything at all? Please tell me in the comments. Now, let's get to the nitty of the gritty. The good things that I've been doing to really talk about dating with some standards and a little bit of delusion. Now, like I told you earlier in this podcast, I said I was going to start dating or doing something. So my good friend girl was like, girl, get on Hinge and see. She's like, I met somebody on there. He's nice. We've been talking for X amount of years. So I decided to try it on her recommendation. Now, what surprised me is that it's not that bad. It is, but it's not. And it is because I have a high standard of talking to an intelligent person. And I hate to say this, George Bush, you deserve a good swift kick in the pants, because you should have left some of these children behind, because they are dumber than a sack of rocks as grown men. I have a problem when people mispronounce words. I do. That is my thing. I am very big on grammar. I love the English language and also the Spanish language, because that's my other language too. Now, I'm not going to be too upset about the grammar on that part, because I'm not that great with it sometimes. But it is horrible. I have never in my life, with the exception of a few good men that I've talked to, and I'm just going to say they're good for lack of a better phrase. Men cannot hold a conversation. Not bashing my brothers now, but men can't hold a conversation. If you don't start the conversation, no conversation shall be had, okay? I've literally been experimenting with this with one guy. I was like, okay, I'm going to see if he even brings up a subject conversation. I think we went like 4 or 5 days without us saying a word to each other, because I was like, I'm always starting a conversation with him, and I'm done. That's now it is a part of my standards. You must be of some form of high intelligence. And then we have some who are just desperate and very irksome. So again, talking the app, do not give your phone number. Now I will share one instance where I'm not going to say that we have mismatched expectations, but I think he took on my profile me saying that I was a Christian, because like I have on one of my prompts, it says on Sundays I go to church, I do ministry, then I come home and watch NFL. Okay, NFL season's over with, Seahawks won the Super Bowl, so I'm done until August. So I take the chance. I give him my number. I remember him. He was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. So I gave him my number, and he was texting, and I was like, okay, cool. And every day, hey, good morning, I'm on my way to work. 1, didn't ask. Oh, I made it home for the day. 2, didn't ask. Then I would ask him a couple of questions, trying to get to know him, sending voice notes back and forth, as you do when you're trying to get to know someone. So I'm asking questions, he's asking questions back and forth. It's going pretty good. But I'm noticing a pattern. Every time I ask him a question or something, it's thank God, God is good, God gave me this, Jesus gave me this, da 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 da. Now mind you, here's the twist for you. This is your twist of the week. I am a believer in God. I love my Father down. However, when I'm trying to get to know you, it's great that you love Jesus too, but I can't get to know you every time you mention Jesus. Like, it's not working. So, everything. I asked him about, do you like intelligence? Here's what he gave me. I don't even have the thing next to me, but he was basically like, y'all, yeah, I like intelligence, because I asked him about intelligence. You got to stimulate the mind before you can stimulate the body. First off, I never mentioned anything about sex. Nothing about it. And then he was like, okay. I asked him something else, and he was like, well, yeah, If we're going to do that, Jesus gave me this so I can do it. Sure, that's great. I know God gave it to us. Okay, I do. But I'm not getting to know you. So, y'all, I said something. I said, hey, I appreciate you where you are in your faith walk. However, I'm gonna need you to I'm gonna need you to dial it down a little bit because I'm still trying to get to know you. And it seems like you're mentioning Jesus or God in every conversation. Baby, why'd I say that? That man got so mad at me, y'all. And then started arguing with me about it, saying that he didn't. He was like, I checked the text messages. Who's going back through text messages? I just said, can you stop doing that going forward so I can get to know you? Because I need to, gauge you as a person. Now, I could be wrong, and y'all can tell me if I am. But baby, he just kind of lost his mind. And I said, because I didn't say it in a mean way. I said, hey, I'm trying to get to know you, whatever. So when he just started arguing with himself, because I was just like, okay, I stopped talking about it. I was like, so if we later got into a relationship and I said, I feel this type of way, you're going to try to argue me down and tell me how you feel and why you said what you said instead of listening with, your heart or whatever to hear my feelings. So I was just like, well, there's a dud. And he's texted me like 2 times after that. And he's really got no response from me. So eventually number shall be deleted. This is that third. Even though, actually, I didn't save his number. So the text thread will probably be deleted because, like I said, I never saved his number. But it's crazy because, like, that taught me a lot about, how some people argue, because I don't necessarily argue with people. I love a good debate, but I'm not going to argue with you over something about it. Like, he was consistent and he was all of that, but you were giving me unnecessary information because, like, I'm trying to get to know you. I don't care what's happening in your day-to-day life because we're grown adults and we got things going on. Yes, are you going to work? Great. What days are you off? So that means that on those days that you're going to work, I'm probably not going to bug you or whatever. But, I was like, good for you. That was a lesson learned. And then I moved on from it. But like I said, we're not going to dwell on that. But I will say this. You got to have a little bit of delusion when it comes to dating. And when I say delusion, I mean like some hope and optimism, not you just choosing to be insane about what you're doing dating. Because a lot of times dating can make you be very cynical and very negative. You can have a negative outlook on stuff. And I will say, it's okay to have hope. It's okay to have faith. Stay open. You can't internalize everything. And sometimes you will get rejected. I think I got rejected by one guy because his form of asking me out on a date, I did not like it. It was not something that I was good with. And he got real mad about that. And I was like, oh. Now, I did have another guy that we exchanged phone numbers. And he asked me out on a date. I said yes. And I'm going to say a date today. And I had to wait until after the date to record it because I was like, I have to give this. I want to give you the full experience. We went to a restaurant. He picked it. Like, when he asked me out on the date, I was like, sure. I was like, okay, we're going on a date. I was supposed to put it in my calendar. Never did. I really kind of forgot about it. And then I was like, oh no, we're going out today. Like, I remember the day, but I was like, what time did we say we were going out? Because that's the real thing I really forgot. But he, communicated, was like, yep, did you do whatever? And he's like, are we still going? I was like, sure. We go out, say a date. I had a great time. It was wonderful. I mean, I laughed. We had good food, good conversation. Seems like chemistry's going to be good. And I mean, I'll give y'all an update as things progress because you never know. But I will say this, even if things go great, you just can't be like, oh, well, now I'm going to be in the delusional world. No. You make sure you check to see if you got red flags, because I appreciate a man that's going to walk me to my car. Like, this time I didn't have him open the door for me. I didn't want to be that person on the first date. But yeah, I don't like to touch the door handle. I mean, I am who I am. But I'm just saying, I believe that there's still some good, decent men out there. You just got to be patient and wallow through this horrible dating pool to get there. But I will say this. So what I'm learning while doing this whole dating thing and being optimistic, aka my version of delusional about it, is sometimes consistency matters. Because we get it. Sometimes life get to life and you can't always be completely consistent every day with a person. I mean, sometimes you're not compatible with people, and sometimes you just don't like a person. They just not for you. And even as a Black woman, I'm learning I don't have to dim my light to make a man feel good. And I don't have to earn his affection or anything by suffering in silence. I don't. Like, if you're going to date, do not abandon who you are to date said person. Just don't. Okay? Now, I will say this. I know this episode done got a little bit away from us, but we had to break a couple of things down as it relates to dating, because sometimes you may need this. And even if you don't, thank you for staying and listening. But I will say, this is my close to you, okay? This is my close for you today. Having standards does not make you a difficult person. It just means that you have some serious self-respect. And wanting to be aligned with your partner doesn't make you delusional. It makes you smart, okay? Because you don't have to agree on everything. Sometimes opposites attract, and sometimes if you are completely and totally opposite, continue to be totally opposite in the wrong direction from each other. Move away from each other. And still believing in love does not make you foolish. It is okay. Because remember, we are dating with standards, faith, and just enough delusion to keep our hearts open and not broken. But love you guys. Hope you have an amazing Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day. And I will catch you next week on Say with a Twist podcast.